بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. We've reached ولله الحمد to the last chapter of Kitab al-Tahara, and after the Mu'allif rahimahullah, the author, he spoke about Izalatul Najasa, ways of removing impurities, which is something which is occurring to both men and women. He has now brought a chapter which is specific only to women, which is Babul Hayd. And Al-Hayd in the Arabic language, fil lugha, the Arabs say حاض الوادي إذا سال. They say حاض الوادي إذا سال, meaning حاض is for something to flow in the Arabic language. As for in istilahan, in fiqh, they say الحيض دم طبيعة وجبلة يخرج من الرحم في أوقات معلومة. دم طبيعة وجبلة يخرج من الرحم في أوقات معلومة. What that means is that hayd, which is a woman's monthly cycle, is blood which is a natural blood. They say natural blood in the definition to take out what we call istihada, which is blood which is referring to the blood which comes out at the time of illness, which is basically abnormal blood. في أوقات معلومة, meaning it comes out at certain times, and each woman knows when and what time of the month her cycle comes. Before he goes in deep into the matters matters pertaining to hayd, he mentions certain principles to make this bab much easier. So he starts and he says لا حيض مع حمل. He gives you the first principle, that it is impossible for a woman who is pregnant to also be on her period. Impossible. And this is at the time of the fuqaha rahimahumullah, they said this. As for today, it's proven scientifically. Who studied medicine or science or something? They prove it medically that women cannot be on their period during pregnancy. However, strangely, I think Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, and I think even Shaykh Uthaymeen, he says that pregnant women can have monthly cycles even though they are pregnant. However, the madhab and the jumhur, most of the scholars are upon the opinion that it is impossible. Number one, whilst a woman is pregnant. Number two, he says وَلَا بَعْدَ خَمْسِينَ سَنَةً. The second case where it is impossible for a woman to be on her period is if blood comes out after she has reached the age of 50. Okay, let's say a woman is pregnant, or she's 51, 52, and she's seen blood. What do we say about that blood? What blood is that? Is it hayd? It can't be hayd. According to the madhab, it's impossible. It can't be hayd. So what do we call it? We call it istihada. And istihada is unnatural blood, which is a result of illness. And then he says وَلَا قَبْلَ تَمَامِ تِسْعٍ. He says also a third case in which a woman will not see dam of hayd is before the age of 9. Before the age of 9, they say it's impossible for a woman to be hayd, to have period blood coming out of her. So let's say an 8-year-old girl, she saw blood coming out. What do we say about that blood? Is it hayd? What do we say about that blood? Straight away we say istihada. We say it's impossible, it can't be hayd. Why did they say 9? Why did they say 50? They said 50 years old because Aisha radiallahu anha, she says that إذا بلغت المرأة 50 سنة خرجت من عهدة الحيض. She says, Aisha radiallahu anha, that if a woman reaches the age of 50, then she is no longer a woman who will see blood of hayd. As for 9, again, it's because of Aisha radiallahu anha's statement where she says that if a girl reaches the age of 9, then she has become a woman. Also, another dalil, which is through iltimas, as they say, is that they said, we have seen many women, and it's very rare for a woman over the age of 50 to see period blood, or a woman that is younger than the age of 9 to see period blood. Therefore they said another dalil is reality, what we can see, that we haven't seen, or we rarely see these cases. Then he says, وَأَقَلُّهُ يَوْمٌ وَلَيْلَةٌ. Now what is the least amount of time that a woman can be on her cycle for us to say that she's on her hayd? He says 1 day and 1 night. So let's say that a woman saw blood for half a day. What do we say about that blood? Is it hayd? Is it hayd? Straight away, yes. Istihada, straight away. Because they say hayd cannot be less than 1 day and 1 night. Minimum, 1 day, 1 night. Where did they get that from? We're going to mention it inshallah. Then he says, وَأَكْثَرُهُ 15. He says the most that a woman can be on her hayd, on her period, is 15 days. The most is 15 days. Anything which is above 15 days. If a woman says blood is coming out 17 days, what do we say? The 2 days, possibly istihada. The 2 days, definitely istihada. And whatever's up to 15, probably can be hayd. Can be hayd. So, let's recap. What is the minimum amount that a woman can be on hayd, on her period? 1 day, 1 night. What's the maximum? 15 days. Before what age? What's the minimum age for her to be hayd? 9. And the maximum? 50. Then he says, وَغَالِبُهُ سِتٌّ أَوْ سَبْعٌ. He speaks about غالب الحيض. غالب الحيض, which means that the cycle in which most women, as in the days which most women have their periods for. He says that most women have a cycle of 6 to 7 days. That's the case with most women. Again, the evidence for this is a hadith, and the evidence for it as well is reality. What we see in reality. The Prophet ﷺ, when he says to the Sahabiya Hamna, he says to her, تحيضي غالب الحيض ستا أو سبعا في أيام الله. So the Prophet ﷺ, what did he call 6 days and 7 days? He called it غالب الحيض, meaning that most women are on their period for how many days? 6 or 7 days. Does that make sense? Most women would be on their period for 6 to 7 days. Then he says, وَأَقَلُّ طُهْرٍ بَيْنَ حَيْضَتَيْنِ 13. Now these things that he's mentioning is not random, because later in the lesson is going to have some sort of importance. He's not just mentioning it randomly, because later he's just going to say غالب الحيض, and he's going to expect you to know because he mentioned it here. طيب, then he says وَأَقَلُّ طُهْرٍ بَيْنَ حَيْضَتَيْنِ 13. Now he mentions the minimum amount of days between 2 cycles. The minimum amount of days between 2 cycles. So he says that the minimum is 13 days. He says the minimum is 13 days. What does that mean? As in, she's on her period from, let's say today's the 20th, okay? And let's start with the 1st, because that's easier. She started on the 1st. Then she finished her period on the 6th, because we said most women 6 days, 5 days, 6 days. She finished on the 6th. He's saying that now the minimum amount of time between this cycle and the next cycle is 13 days. So when is the next time she possibly could get her hayd? Huh? The minimum. The earliest. 18. 13 plus 6. 19. That's the earliest. It doesn't mean it will happen, but it's the earliest. The earliest. Okay, let's say that she was on her period from the 1st day of October to the 6th. And then she said, that's it, no more blood. Then she said, on the 10th of October, blood started again. What do we say? Not necessarily. We say maybe that blood is a completion for the first hayd. It follows the first hayd. Possibly. Yes, that's possible. Some women, they might go on for 2 days, then it stops. one day, and then next day it continues. It's possible. So it's one of that we say is a completion for the first hayd, or we say that it is istihada, depending. We're going to understand what it depends on. Where's the evidence that the minimum is 13 days? They say that Ali radiallahu anh, he had a student, his name was Shurayh. And obviously we know that if a woman gets divorced, how long is her iddah? Iddah. Not 4 months. Iddah. Yeah. 3 months. Everyone's saying, how long is the woman's iddah if she's divorced? Yeah. لا. Yeah. 3 cycles. That is المتوفى عنها زوجها. العدة. No. Divorced. Not her husband died. Divorced. She got divorced. Yes, she got divorced. Her iddah is how long? 3 cycles. 3 حيض. Do you understand now? والمطلقات يتربصن بأنفسهن 3. Where'd you go? المطلقات يتربصن بأنفسهن 3 قروء. That's والذين يتوفون منكم 4 أشهر. Anyway, now that we got to the divorced woman, the divorced, after the woman is divorced, her iddah is 3 cycles. So 3 times her period must come and go. Now this woman, see, we even forgot where we were. We were telling a story. Ali radiallahu anh, his student Shurayh, a woman came and she claimed that in 1 month she finished 3 of her cycles. Is that possible? In 1 month? If we apply what we took, it's possible. What's the minimum amount of hayd? What's the minimum amount a woman can be on her period? 1 day, 1 night. That's the minimum. So 1 day and 1 night she's on her period. Then what did we say? The minimum between the 2 hayd? 13. So 1 plus 13 is how much? 14. Then she's back on her period 1 day. How much is that? 15. Plus another 13. 15 plus 13? 28. Then 1 more day for the 3rd cycle. And then she's finished in 1 month, in 29 days. In 29 days, she done 3 cycles. So it's possible. So she came to Shurayh, which is Ali radiallahu anhu's student, and she said, in 1 month, I'm finished with my iddah. Now, as all of you were surprised, Shurayh was a faqih, however. He says, he understood that is possible. So he said to her, if she can prove through her family members that they have similar amount of days of hayd as her, then she's now free to get married. She's free to get married. So from this they took that the minimum between 2 hayds is how many days? 13. Now let's recap quickly. What's the minimum amount a woman can be on a hayd? 1 day, 1 night. What's the maximum? 15. What's the minimum between the 2 cycles? 13. And then he says, وَلَا حَدَّ لِأَكْثَرِهِ, meaning there is no limit for how long the period can be between 2 cycles. A woman can have a cycle this month and then not see any blood for the next 2-3 months. So there's no limit with the maximum. With the minimum, we say 13 days. The maximum, there's no limit. So she could see blood for 5 days now, and in 2 months, 3 months, she doesn't see blood. Does that make sense? So that's possible. Then he says, وَحَرُمَ عَلَيْهَا. Now he's going to speak about some ahkam which regard the ha'id. He says, وَحَرُمَ عَلَيْهَا فِعْلُ صَلَاةٍ. The first thing which is haram upon her is to pray. she's not allowed to pray. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, one of the tabi'een, Mu'adha, she asked Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, ما بال الحائض تقضي الصوم ولا تقضي الصلاة. She says, how comes that the woman who was on her period, after she finishes, how comes she makes up Sawm and she doesn't make up Salah? Then Aisha asked her, she said, أحرورية أنت? Al-Haruriyya, they were Khawarij. And the Khawarij at that time, they used to make up Salah. So she said, are you from the Khawarij? She said, no. Then she said, كان يصيبنا ذلك على عهد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فنؤمر بقضاء الصوم ولا نؤمر بقضاء الصلاة. She said that this periods, it was something that used to occur to us in the time of Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, and we were only commanded to make up Sawm and not Salah. As for it being haram for her to fast and to pray, the Prophet ﷺ says, أَوَلَيْسَ إِذَا حَاضَتْ لَمْ تُصَلِّ وَلَمْ تَصُمْ. Is it not that when she's on her period, she's not allowed to pray and she is not allowed to fast? The Prophet ﷺ says. Then he says, وَيَلْزَمُهَا قَضَاؤُهُ. She has to make up what? The fasts. So let's say that she's on her period for 6 days. Yeah? Does she have to make up the 6 days salah? How many salahs did she miss in 6 days? 30 salahs. Does she have to make it up? No. One reason is that of the hadith of Aisha that I just mentioned to you. Another evidence is that the difficulty. It's very difficult. Now let's say, for example, we said, what's the maximum amount a woman can be on her hayd? 15. Now imagine she hasn't prayed for 15 days and you tell her, make up 15 days. It's very difficult. Then he says, وَيَجِبُ بِوَطْئِهَا فِي الْفَرْجِ دِينَارٌ أَوْ نِصْفُهُ كَفَّارَةً. As we all know, I hope, that the husband is not allowed to be intimate with his wife, as in have intercourse with her whilst she is in her period, in her hayd, intercourse. As for everything else is allowed. We're going to come to it. The dalil for that is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوهُنَّ حَتَّى يَطْهُرْنَ. And do not come near them. And the Quran doesn't mention the actual word. It doesn't say وَلَا تُجَامِعُهُنَّ. The Quran has adab. It says وَلَا تَقْرَبُوهُنَّ. But تَقْرَبُوهُنَّ meaning what? Do not, that means, it means not to go near, literally. But the Quran, what it means is, do not have intercourse with them. That's what it means. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ. أَوْ لَامَسْتُم doesn't mean if you touch her. It means if you had intercourse with her. Then he says, وَيَجِبُ بِوَطْئِهَا فِي الْفَرْجِ. Let's say that someone broke the rule and he had intercourse with his wife whilst she's on her hayd. The Hanabila, they say that upon this man is a kafara. What is the kafara? He says, دِينَارٌ أَوْ نِصْفُهُ كَفَّارَةً. It's one of he pays a dinar or nisf dinar. Not Algerian dinar. No, Algerian dinar. No. 1 dinar is very easy. How much is 1 dinar in pound? Yes. Yeah. No. What? Yeah. It's not worth much. What they mean here by dinar is dhahab. So each dinar is 4 grams of gold. Or 4.5, I think. How much is 4.5 grams of gold worth today? 4.5. As of today. I think around £100, maybe. More. Really? 200? I doubt it. One gram is how much? 1 gram is 35. Oh, so you're talking around 150, 140. So, anyway, the Hanabila, they say that if a person has intercourse with his wife whilst she's on her hayd, then he must pay a kafara, meaning 1 dinar or nisf dinar. He has the option. He can pay a dinar or nisf dinar. So it's one if he pays 4.5 grams of gold or half of that. 2.75 grams of gold. It's up to him. And the dalil for this is Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. He used to command anyone that had intercourse with his wife whilst she's on her period to pay this kafara. And it's from the mufradat of the Hanabila. No one else said that. And like I said, it's dinar or nisf dinar ala takhir. It's up to him. He can pay more, he can pay less. So if we say that 4 grams is £200, then he has 2 options: pay £200 or £100. It's up to him. Then he says, وَتُبَاحُ الْمُبَاشَرَةُ فِي مَا دُونَهُ. Now he says anything other than having intercourse. He says everything else is allowed. Everything. And there's no limits in terms of what he's allowed to do, what he's not allowed to do, so long as he doesn't have intercourse with her. The Prophet ﷺ says, اصنعوا كل شيء إلا النكاح. The Prophet ﷺ says, do everything with your wives, your spouses, except for intercourse. And this is one quick fa'idah, which is that the word nikah, it has a lughawi meaning and a istilah meaning. In the Quran, mostly it takes the meaning of istilah, the aqd. In the Quran, mostly it means the aqd. الذي بيده عقدة النكاح. Very rarely does nikah in the Quran mean the actual meaning. The nikah, what's nikah in fiqh? اصطلاحا. No, اصطلاحا في الفقه. In lugha, you're right. في الاصطلاح هو عقد يفيد حل الاستمتاع. عقد يفيد حل الاستمتاع. Anyway, he says وتباح المباشرة فيما دونه. We said the Prophet ﷺ said اصنعوا كل شيء إلا النكاح. And the Prophet ﷺ also, Aisha radiallahu anha, she used to say that whilst she would be on her period, on her cycle, the Prophet ﷺ, she says فكان يأمرني فأتزر فيباشرني وأنا حائض. She used to say that the Prophet ﷺ would tell me to wear something over my belly button under to cover, and he would do anything with me other than actual intercourse. Now this is where it gets a bit difficult. Let's put seatbelts on because we're going to increase the speed. Then he says وَالْمُبْتَدَأَ. He says تَجْلِسُ أَقَلَّهُ. And this is where I said that what we took in the beginning is going to be needed. He says وَالْمُبْتَدَأَةُ تَجْلِسُ أَقَلَّهُ. Who is al-mubtada'a? Al-mubtada'a is the woman who is about to see her first period ever. She's never had period before. This is her first time. It's her first time. The Hanabila, they are a bit difficult, to be honest, with al-mubtada'a. The other madhab is very, very easy. So I'm going to explain the book and then we're going to explain what the other madhab say. As for the Hanabila, it's quite difficult to understand and it's difficult upon the mubtada'a herself. They say al-mubtada'atu tajlisu aqallahu. So this girl, woman, it's her first time seeing blood. First time ever. What's the minimum age? What do we say? 9. We took as 9. So let's say this 9-year-old girl, she saw blood. He says, tajlisu aqallahu. What is aqall al-hayd? What's the least amount? That's ghalib al-hayd. 1 day and 1 night is the least. So he says, tajlisu aqallahu. She stays 1 day, 1 night without praying, and if it's Ramadan, without fasting. Then he says that after that 1 day and 1 night, she makes ghusl. Even if the blood is still coming out. That makes sense? Even though the blood is still coming out, she must make ghusl on the first day, after the first day and first night, and then continue praying and fasting as normal. It's the Hanabila. It's a bit difficult, but I'm going to explain it first. Why did they say that she must make ghusl after the first day? They said that the first day and first night, we are 100% sure that it's hayd. Whatever's more than that, we are unsure about it. Because, as it's going to come, she doesn't have a 'adah. A 'adah meaning she doesn't have a set amount of days. And we're going to find out that in order for a woman to have a set amount of days, it must repeat 3 times. But for her, she doesn't have a set amount of days. So they said that the first day and first night, she must make ghusl after. Because anything after that, we're not sure about it. It could be hayd and it could not be hayd. So they say, احتياطا للعبادة تغتسل وتصلي. So they tell her, just in case that blood is not hayd, she makes ghusl and she prays as usual. Do we understand? As for the Jumhur, they say that until the blood stops, then she makes ghusl. Easy. Very easy. But Hanabila very difficult. So, did we understand what he's saying now? He says that after the first day and first night, she makes ghusl. Then, even if the blood continues, then when it finishes, she also makes another ghusl. And she continues praying. She continues praying. Then he says, ثُمَّ تَغْتَسِلُ وَتُصَلِّي. After that first day, first night, she's made ghusl. She prays and fasts as usual, if it's Ramadan or wherever. She fasts as usual, prays as usual, just in case that is not hayd. Then he says, فإن لم يجاوز دمها أكثره اغتسلت أيضا إذا انقطع. Now let's recap. What is أكثر الحيض? What is the most amount of days that a woman can be on her period? That's غالب الحيض, 6 or 7. That's غالب. But أكثر الحيض is 15. Yeah, that's غالب الحيض. 6 and 7 is most women, they have 6 or 7. Now he's saying that this mubtada'ah, she's the first time, she's never seen blood beforehand. Al-mubtada'ah, he's saying that if the blood now, she's had ghusl on the first day, first night, and it's not gone over 15 days. What does she do when it stops again? She does ghusl again. So let's give an example. From the 1st of October to the 10th of October, she's mubtada'ah, first time she's ever seen blood. What does she do after the first day? Ghusl, and then she prays. And on the 10th day, she says the blood stopped. What does she do on the 10th day again? Another ghusl. Does that make sense? They say that she does this for 3 months. She does this same thing for 3 months. Why 3 months? Because it's only after 3 months that she's going to have a'ada. Do you understand what they're saying now? Then he says, فَإِن تَكَرَّرَ ثَلَاثًا فَهُوَ حَيْض تَقْضِي مَا وَجَبَ فِيهِ. Now that if it repeats 3 times, if a cycle repeats for her 3 times, now we know that first month and the second month and the third month was all hayd. So what does she do in terms of the fasting that she fasted on those days? She makes it up. He's with me. Because it's very difficult. Do we understand what we're saying? So now if it... no, she doesn't make up salah. Salah is never made up. Then he says, فَإِن تَكَرَّرَ ثَلَاثًا فَهُوَ حَيْض. Now, let me give you an example. A woman said, from the 1st of October to the 10th, she said, I'm following the rule. After the first day, I'm making ghusl. Then on the 10th day, when it stops, I also make another ghusl. Then comes November, 1st to 10th, same thing. December, 1st to 10th. From January now, what is her 'aada? 10 days. Her 'aada is 10 days. 'Aada meaning now she's used to a set amount of days. Her 'aada is 10 days. Okay. However, let me give another example. October, she said from day 1 to day 10. November, she said day 1 to day 9. And December, she said day 1 to day 8. What is her 'aada now? No. What is it that repeated 3 times? 8. 8 repeated 3 times. Therefore, her 'aada is what? 8. The 9 and 10, she ignores it. So whatever repeats 3 times is her 'aada. Do we understand now? I'm going to ask questions later. Makes sense? Now, this is the first case. This all that we said is the first case. Now we're going to go into the second case. Then he says, وَإِنْ أَيِّسَتْ قَبْلَهُ أَوْ لَمْ يَعُدْ فَلَا. Now he's saying that if before any cycle repeated 3 times, that's it, no more blood came out. After that first time, she's never seen blood again. Then he says she doesn't have to make up the fast that was wajib. Now he says, وَإِنْ جَاوَزَهُ فَمُسْتَحَاضَ. Now look, the fuqaha, sometimes they use ضمائر, which are very difficult to unlock. What does he mean by وَإِنْ جَاوَزَهُ? It means وَإِنْ جَاوَزَ أَكْثَرَ الْحَيْض. Now what is the most days we said the woman can be on her hayd for? 15. Now let's say that this mubtada'ah, the blood, after she made ghusl after the first day, first night, the blood went for longer than 15 days. She says the blood continued till the 17th day. What does she do? No. What they say is that she makes ghusl after the 17th day, and from the next month, now she doesn't wait for aada to reoccur. From the next month, what does she have to do? He says, تجلس المتميزة إن كان وصلها في الشهر الثاني. Now with the mubtada'a, who her blood doesn't go over 15 days, we say to her 3 months, repeat the same thing. You find out your aada. From the 4th month, you begin with your aada. So if it's 10 days, it's 10 days. If it's 9 days, 9 days, whatever. However, now it's gone over 15. No, we're going to tell her to do something else from the 2nd month. From the 2nd month, we're going to tell her to do something called at-tamyiz. Now we have aada, which is that she knows how many days she is usually on her cycle. And she knows usually what time of the month it is in. And tamyiz is where a woman is able to differentiate between the blood that is hayd and which is not hayd. Now this mubtada, who was mustahad on the 1st month, why didn't we tell her you go for your aada on the 2nd month? Why do we tell her to do tamyiz, which is something else? The answer is more simple, very, very simple. She doesn't have a aada. A aada is, it has to be 3 times. This woman, she saw the 1st month, and this istihada case happened. It went over 15. It went over 15. The 2nd month, we tell her to do something called tamyiz. We don't take her to aada because she doesn't have a aada to begin with. That makes sense. In order for a woman to have a aada, how many times must it repeat? 3 months. So with this woman, we say to her to do something called tamyiz, which is that she looks at the blood and she tries to differentiate between the blood which is hayd and the blood which is istihada. What are the basis that she differentiates between the blood which is hayd or istihada? The color. So the blood of hayd is usually dark, and the blood of istihada is usually red. Another thing is that the dam of hayd usually would have a very strong scent. As for istihada, it's normal. The blood of hayd is ghaliyad, it's thick. As for the blood of istihada, it's as normal. The Prophet says, he says, فَإِنَّهُ أَسْوَدُ يُعْرَفْ. About dam al-hayd, he says, فَإِنَّهُ أَسْوَدُ يُعْرَفْ. As in, it's dark in color and it is known. Or he said, أَسْوَدُ يُعْرِفْ. يُعْرِفْ meaning it has a smell. So, she says, the 1st month, from day 1 to day 17. So the 2nd month, we pushed her to what we call at-tamyiz. She says, the first 10 days, I can see dark blood. Then the rest of the 7 days is normal red blood. Where is her hayd? The first 10. And the 7 is istihada. We ignore that totally. She prays and she does everything as usual. She makes ghusl after the 10th day and she ignores that blood. She says the first 10 days, the blood has a smell. And then after the rest of the 7 days, the blood doesn't have a smell. Where is her hayd? The first 10. Do we understand now? However, he says, إِن كَانَ وَصَلُحَ. What does وَصَلُحَ mean? What if she says that I saw dark blood for 16 days and I saw red blood for 2 days? Is it possible for hayd to be 16 days? So this tamyiz is not salih. This is tamyiz fasid. The woman with the tamyiz fasid, we push her to another step. As for if she has tamyiz salih, we tell her to go for her tamyiz. Does that make sense? So she has tamyiz salih, as in she knows the characteristics, and it is possible for it to be hayd, then we tell her to follow her tamyiz. If her tamyiz is fasid, she's saying to us, the black blood, the dark blood is 16 days. We say directly that's impossible. So we push her, we say your tamyiz is fasid, move on to the next step. Then he says, وَإِلَّا أَقَلَّ الْحَيْضِ حَتَّى تَتَكَرَّرَ اسْتِحَاضَتُهَا ثُمَّ غَالِبُهُ. Then he says, وَإِلَّا. Otherwise, now she has tamyiz, the first case. Let's say she doesn't have tamyiz. If she doesn't have tamyiz, he says, she does ghusl after the first day and first night until her istihada repeats 3 times. And then from the 4th month, what does she do? She doesn't have a aada. What does she do in the 4th month? Ghalib al-hayd. غالب الحيض 6 days or 7 days. How does she choose between 6 or 7? She looks at her family members, her sister, her mother. She chooses between 6 or 7. The Prophet ﷺ said to Hamna, تحيضي غالب الحيض 6 أو 7. 6 أو 7. 6 days or 7 days. Now, the Hanabila and the Jumhur of the ulama, they put عادة before tamiz. They say عادة is stronger than tamiz. Because let's say that a woman, she had عادة. Her عادة is 10 days. She saw blood for the 11th, 12th and 13th day as well. What do we say about those 3 days? Istihada, straight away. If she has a عادة, anything more than the عادة is istihada. Push it away. Her عادة is 7 days. She says blood came for 10 days. Where is her hayd? 7. So long as she has a عادة. Now even if she has a عادة, and she says that, however, the 10 days, all of it is dark blood. We say to her, your عادة precedes your tamiz. Even if you're telling us you can see blood which is dark, you put your عادة before. Because the Prophet ﷺ, when Fatima bint Abi Hubaysh came to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ, he took her back to her عادة, not her tamiz. He says, اجلسي قدر أقرائك. As in, how many days you used to have your hayd. She came to the Prophet ﷺ to complain about her istihada. She said that the blood never stops coming out of me. The Prophet ﷺ then said to her, sit the days that you usually used to sit. He didn't tell her, have a look at the blood. So عادة is stronger than tamiz, according to Jumhur al-Ulama. The Shafi'iyya, they say that tamiz is stronger. Then he says, وَمُسْتَحَاضَةٌ مُعْتَادَةٌ تُقَدِّمُ عَادَتَهَا. We just said that. Mustahada, her blood goes on for 10 days, but her عادة is 7 days. We say 7 days is hayd, whatever goes over the 7 days is what? Is istihada. She prays and she does everything as usual. Does that make sense? So, the woman who has a عادة, she sticks to her عادة at all times. Can a woman's عادة change? Yes. How does it change? No, as in, how do we say that it's changed? What process does it need to go through? We mentioned it. Yeah, it repeats for 3 months. If another cycle repeats for 3 months, then we say that she has now a new عادة. She has a new عادة. Now everything we said here is much easier with the other madhahib. They say when she sees blood, she sits the amount of days and then she does ghusl at the end. That's it. Nice and simple. Very simple. And to be honest, this is much more difficult for the mubtada. It's difficult. Because you tell her wash on the first day, then wash when you finish, then make up the fast. It's difficult. Now tamyiz, first time is difficult. First time, it's very difficult for her to have tamyiz. Especially. Yes. Then he says, so that we can finish quickly. He says, وَيَلْزَمُهَا وَنَحْوُهَا غَسْلُ الْمَحَلِّ وَعَصْبُهُ. الْمُسْتَحَاضَةِ, which is the woman whose blood now goes over 15 days or goes over her عادة. What is upon her? Obviously, the mustahada, her blood is constant. Her blood is constant and it's unnatural. What must she do? She must wash the area and make wudu for every salah. The Prophet ﷺ, as Aisha, she narrated about Habiba, أنها استحيضت 7 سنين. فأمرها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فكانت تتوضأ لكل صلاة. In another riwayah, فكانت تغتسل لكل صلاة. But they say the riwayah is that she made it upon her, she used to wash herself, but the wajib is wudu for every salah. Then he says, وَالْوُضُوء لِوَقْتِ كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ إِنْ خَرَجَ شَيْءٍ. If in the time of salah, dam of istihada came out, then we say for the next salah you must make wudu again. Then he says, وَنِيَّةُ الْإِسْتِبَاحَةِ. What must she do? She must make niyyah that she is going to make this wudu in order to pray. Because they say that al-mustahada and qiyas and also salas al-bawl, they say this person hadathuhu la yartafi', because his hadath is da'im. The hadath is constant. The hadath is constant, it doesn't stop. Therefore they said al-hadath la yartafi', but he's making the wudu just to be allowed to pray. So niyyat al-istibaha is wajibah. Then he says وَحَرْمَ وَطْءُهَا إِلَّا مَعَ خَوْفِ الزِّنَا. The Hanabila say that it's haram to have intercourse with the mustahada, except if she fears of zina or he fears of zina. The Jumhur, Allahu Alam, is that it is allowed to have intercourse with the mustahada. Then he says, وَأَكْثَرُ مُدَّةٍ النِّفَاسِ 40 يوما. النفاس, they say, هو دم ترخيه الرحم بعد الولادة أو قبله بيومين بأمارة. النفاس is the blood which comes out of the woman after giving birth. And he says the most that a woman can be on her nifas is 40 days for the hadith of Salama radiallahu anha. Then he says وَالنَّقَاءُ زَمَنُهُ وَالنَّقَاءُ زَمَنَهُ طُهْرٌ يُكْرَهُ الْوَطْءُ فِيهِ. Now let's say in this 40 days, for 2 days, for example, the first 10 days, blood is constant. Then the 11th and 12th, the blood stopped. Then we say that he is allowed to have intercourse with her, but it's makruh. It's makruh. Why is it makruh? They said Uthman ibn Abi al-As radiallahu anhu, he used to say to his wife, لا تقربيني, when she gives birth and she has nifas, he says to her to not come near her, because it's possible for the blood to come out at any time. Then he says, وهو كحيض, meaning nifas. He says, هو كحيض في أحكامه غير عدة وبلوغ. Meaning that al-hayd and nifas, they have the same ahkam in everything. That he's not allowed to have intercourse with her. And that if he has intercourse with her, the kaffara, all of these things. He says, غير عدة, number one, except in iddah. In iddah, we count the hayd. We say that her hayd, we count 3 cycles, but we don't count nifas. And غير بلوغ. When a woman now goes on her first period, mubasharatan, we say that she has now become baligha. But if a woman now goes on her nifas, not necessarily, she doesn't have to be baligh. Not necessarily. Does that all make sense? Allahu a'lam wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad. There was a question quickly. It says, is the woman that is on her hayd allowed to enter the masjid? The Jumhur ulama say that she's not allowed to enter the masjid. However, some ulama, they are easy going. If she has a dars or something like that, then they are easy going with it. But the Jumhur ulama, they don't allow her to enter the masjid. And if she does enter the masjid, she must be sure that she's not going to make the